Good evening. I'm Henry Goodwin, and our sports ticker is brought to you by the Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services. In Husker soccer news, today Sarah Weber signed a two-year deal with Racing Louisville. The NWSL team signed Weber after an electric college career, scoring 43 goals and 16 assists over the past 4 years. She was also a 3-time All-Big Ten Conference first-team selection. In Husker bowling news, the third-ranked Nebraska bowling team went 5-0 in their first day of competition at the Northeast Classic in Delaware, tallying a pinfall of 5,443 and finishing in first place. The Nebraska men's tennis team is set to open its 2025 spring season at home on Saturday, January 18th, with a doubleheader against Drake and Bellarmine. The Huskers host the Bulldogs at 11 a.m. and the Knights at 4 p.m. at the Dillon Tennis Center to start their dual campaign. Our sports ticker is sponsored by the Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services. Call a timeout. If you or someone you know is struggling or in crisis, the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is there. Call, text, or chat 988. It's free, confidential, and staffed with trained counselors ready to listen and provide support. Now get ready for 2 hours of Sports Nightly, right here on the Huskers Radio Network.
Coming to you live from Memorial Stadium, it's Sports Nightly. All the Huskers, all the time. Sports Nightly is presented to you by the NDOT Highway Safety Office, who remind you to buckle up and put the phone down.
Here comes UCLA the other way. Sebastian Mack, jump stop in the paint. It's taken away from him by Hoiberg. Hoiberg stripped him. Hoiberg across the timeline. Hoiberg waits for his teammates. On the pass to Buchengel, puts it up. Got it! Bang! Merton! Hoiberg driving, left lane line stopping, goes weak side, bounce pass. Morgan's got it, strong with the ball, puts it up and in, one. Nebraska with a 9-point lead, their biggest of the game. What a strong move by Morgan.
Rebound Campbell, Penn State looks to retake the lead. Britt Prince knocked it away at half court. Bojan got the loose ball. Bojan volleyball bats it to Prince. Rimdahl for three, deep left wing. You betcha! Off the assist from Britt Prince. Out Bernie Rimdahl with a Central Valley A3. Forces a Penn State timeout.
Now, here are your hosts, Greg Sharpe and Jessica Coody on the Huskers Radio Network.
Just really, really proud of the guts that we showed, the grit, the toughness, just the ability to refocus when something didn't go quite the way we wanted it to go throughout the game and re-lock in and make the next play. And just the resiliency, the grit, the toughness was pretty special.
Left side quarter court, Nisley, ball fake on McCabe. Takes her to the baseline, now stops the dribble. Spins, bounces down low. Petrie solo down there with a Folter underneath Markowski, puts it up and in, and it's 2-0 Huskers. Huskers trail by 4, have the ball. Nisley quickly up the floor. Prince feeling it, 3 on the left wing. You betcha, she's on fire. Britt has 3. 19-16 Hawks. Other way, Nisley for 3, left wing. You betcha, ties the game. A Central Valley A3 for Logan, and we're tied at 19.
3 consecutive threes for the Big Red as we go under 2 minutes.
Prince high on the right side, throws down low. Markowski sees a double. Hargrove alone, top of the key, 3. You betcha, off the assist from Markowski. 6 CDA threes in the first quarter for the Big Red.
And Nebraska back up 3.
Prince the rebound. Huskers 3-point lead on the ball. Outlets to the right side. Rimdahl makes a run underneath the basket.
Great play!
Finds Markowski off the assist of Rimdahl. She went right to left underneath, and Lex was trailing it, and that was pretty. Markowski wants Prince to come out and take it. She does. Deep on the left wing with 15 to shoot. Markowski sets a screen. Prince deep 3. You betcha! My goodness, have a game, Britt Prince. She's hit 4 CDA threes.
Well, we just got great performances. I thought Britt Prince particularly just said, I need to step up right now without Lex on the floor, and I thought she made some huge plays. I couldn't be more proud.
Huskers in trouble here. Prince out of the key with 3, with 2. She fires one up and nails it. A whirling dervish from the right elbow. Prince got 16. Huskers lead by 2. Prince goes back and gets it, flips it to head to Rimdahl. Now the Huskers are running. Deep left side. Nisley for 3. Get in there, you betcha! Back-to-back Central Valley egg threes by Logan. 64-59 now the Iowa lead.
I thought our group just did such a good job of leaning into each other. Obviously, there were some things that didn't go our way, and so we talked about it in the locker room at halftime. We talked about it every time out, just leaning into each other, finding ways within our group to come out on top.
Rimdahl, a couple of ball fakes, bounces into Prince at half court. And Prince is going to make a run on a falter. Steps back for three to tie the game. You betcha! Biggest shot of that freshman's young career. Timeout. We're tied at 75. Britt Prince is 19. She steps back and sticks a three-pointer, her fifth of the night.
Lex, when she fouled out, she told us, I believe in you guys. You guys got this. We're going to win this game. And I think we all trusted each other, each and every one of us, whoever's out there on the court. We believe in each other and know that we could get it done. So we did that.
Hate to get it in. Britt Prince has it, and Guyton's trying to foul her. Iowa takes it away. How is that not a foul?
Oh,
1
boy.
second
Oh,
to go
boy.
at the buzzer of Bolter to tie it. Huskers win! Huskers win! Bench going crazy. Huskers get their first win in 6 years in Iowa. The Hawkeyes have lost 4 in a row. And Nebraska sends 14,000 Iowa fans home unhappy. And the Big Red gets a big overtime win. And Carver Hawkeye, 87-84. Nebraska defeats the defending Big Ten champion Iowa Hawkeyes.
We're just so excited. I mean, we knew we could do it, and we're just battling a lot right now within our team, and we're just trying to fight for Allison, fight for Natalie. And so getting this Big Ten win on the road in this crazy atmosphere is just so amazing, and it feels so good because all of our toughness, all of our work that we're putting in, the confidence that we have in ourselves is just showing.
Well, there's a recap of a terrific night for Amy Williams' team last night over in Iowa City. An overtime win over the Hawkeyes, 87-84. Kudos to Josh Hookeman for putting that together. A lot of people stepped up, Jessica, in that game last night. That's what you have to do when you've now lost two key components of this team. Other people are getting opportunities, and last night they made the plays, particularly in overtime, which is really impressive to do on the road for a huge road win.
Yeah, going on the road, which you talk about all the time. It's we hear it all the time for both coaches. Protect the home court, still went on the road, and that was with the rivalry game. You heard Coatney just say it. It's been a while since they've won in Iowa. At Iowa, Alexis Markowski had never won a game at Iowa. You could tell how much it meant to her, but she fouls out, and you've got two freshmen, two sophomores on the court there in overtime. You could point to so many different players that had big moments. Britt hits the big buckets to tie it. Several huge buckets throughout that game. But Jess Petrie was huge. I loved at one point it was a rebound off of a free throw, and then the foul gets called, and Logan Nisley, you could see her saying that was a huge board. And so Jess Petrie's playing some of her best basketball. Amaya Hargrove was absolutely massive and multiple times. Logan Nisley hit some big shots. Alexis, they couldn't stop her at times. So you can go down the list of everybody that played, contributed, and played some big moments. And that was a big win. It was that was a fun game to watch.
Sure was. I mean, you mentioned Hargrove, a double-double, 10 and 11 for her. We mentioned a couple of days ago, we were talking about Britt Prince really starting to establish herself. She wanted the ball. She wanted the ball in her hands late in the game, and she wanted to be able to take the big shots. She is really starting to settle in now as a Big Ten player, and Hargrove was big. You're right. You can just kind of go up and down. Everybody that played last night contributed, and that's what you need to do when you're on the road. Iowa was kind of a desperate team. They'd lost a couple in a row. You know, they desperately needed to win last night, and yet Nebraska turned them back and got a huge win, their 14th of the year. That had to be a fun little flight. It wasn't very long, but a fun little flight coming back to Lincoln.
Yeah, absolutely. And just, you also heard both Britt, Logan talking about it. They were devastated on Sunday when the injury happened to Allison Widener. And, they found a way to get it done on the road at Rutgers, and then turn right around. Right? It was at Rutgers, right?
Yeah. They were at Rutgers.
Yeah, on Sunday. And then do it again last night. And when we had Amy on the show on Tuesday night, we had a text question coming in, how are you going to fill the void with Allison? She said, we're trying to figure that out. And so still trying to figure out, and Allison was playing her best ball too. So, the way that they stepped up, they wanted to play for her. And heard Amy saying during the coaches show too that Britt Prince is one of the most competitive people she's ever met. And, she a little quiet at times, but boy, you could just tell she wants to win those games. And I love, you could tell there's just a connection there with Logan Nisley, the way Britt finds Logan some open looks and hits her in the shooter's pocket, which we hear Coatney talking about a lot. It's special the way that they're so, yes, you have Alexis Markowski and some of the older players that have played some big minutes. Kendall Moriarty, we heard Coach talking about Kendall Coley, but there's a huge group of that team right now that are underclassmen that are absolutely taking care of business, and you love to see that. And every time out on the court, they continue to grow. Britt included in that, Amaya Hargrove included in that. So you got some really talented freshmen and sophomores that are handling this adversity and these big moments much better than I think anybody anticipated. And so it's a group you can be excited about right now because, those players believe and they want to win right now, but then it also makes you excited, too, for what's to come for this group.
I think the Huskers won this one at the free throw line. They go 18 to 22 from the stripe, 81%. And sometimes Nebraska's been kind of an up and down team shooting free throws, but Iowa only goes 16 to 29, 55%. So Iowa really hurt themselves at the free throw line in that game. They also have a batch of freshmen that they're playing as well. So just a really good road win. That's back-to-back road wins now for Amy's team. They won at Rutgers on Sunday, win at Iowa. I know they're going to be glad to get back home on Monday when they play Wisconsin at PBA. Speaking of PBA, last night it was busy. The men were in action against a very young Rutgers team with two of the best freshmen in the country, probably two NBA lottery picks. And I know it was a disappointing finish to the game, but Jessica, and maybe I'm looking at this thing through big old red glasses, but I don't think Nebraska played bad. I just think Rutgers made a few more plays.
Yeah, I think you saw those NBA talent, the NBA caliber, top 5, top 10 picks, how good they are. And the Rutgers record, and I'm not here to make excuses, but their record is not indicative of the kind of team that they are, especially with Harper healthy. And, you look at the stat sheet, you look at several things, and the Huskers did a lot of things really well. They took care of the basketball. They had 17 assists to 7 turnovers. Bryce Williams hit some big shots. They had 25 offensive rebounds. Rutgers' offensive rebounds just came at some really key moments where the Huskers maybe going to get a lead, hopefully maybe step on the throat a little bit, and then they give up an offensive rebound, and here comes Rutgers. They were trading blow for blow, and a lot of just really good basketball. It was a great game to watch, but, you go through a stretch there where the Huskers couldn't couldn't get a bucket, and then gave up some key offensive rebounds. But, yeah, they didn't play bad, and it wasn't just oh, boy, that was not a good performance like maybe we've seen like at Purdue maybe. Purdue was just kind of a buzzsaw. But, they did a lot of things really well. But that was a tough one because it felt – I went to the game, Greg, and it was such a weird feeling walking out of there without a loss because it's been so long since you experienced that, walking out of PBA with a loss.
Yeah, 20-game win streak gets snapped last night. Ace Bailey, one of those great freshmen for Rutgers, 24 and 11 for him. And he made 4 out of 7 3-pointers. He said after the game, we wanted it more than they did. I don't know that I agree with that assessment. I don't fault Nebraska's effort at all last night. I thought they were diving for loose balls, getting after things, only turned it over 7 times. So I'm going to give Ace a pass because he's a freshman.
Yeah.
But I don't think they wanted it more than Nebraska. I would dispute that.
Yeah, that's a guy that probably just doesn't necessarily understand kind of what he's saying yet. Because Nebraska had some great looks down the stretch. They just didn't go in. It wasn't like Rutgers completely shut down Nebraska. They made some tough shots that went in that Nebraska didn't, but it wasn't like, they played better they just made some better shots when they needed to. But yeah, I would disagree with that too. I mean, you look at the stat sheet, there were a lot of things that Nebraska did better than Rutgers. It just happened to be when you needed to make some buckets in those down the stretch, Nebraska didn't convert. Connor Sejan had a couple good looks at it.
Sure did.
That didn't go down. So missed some free throws also. They missed 10 free throws again, which that's got to get figured out. That's that's a difference in games now that have cost them a couple of games that you've got to be able to knock those down when we get to the free throw line. I mean, and for as good as some of those guys are, they're just some guys that when they get up there, just not as confident in. But those guys, it's just a mental thing. They need to be better at the free throw line because these games are going to come down to those. And, that's another area that you can point to. You can't miss 10 free throws in a game like that.
Kind of the difference in the men and women from last night. I just mentioned the women were great, 81%. The men, no, 63% for the line. They drop a game by 3 points to Rutgers at 85-82. Okay, so now you've dropped a home game. You've got to go get one back on the road, and they'll have a chance Sunday at Maryland. Maryland's scuffling a little bit, a very talented team, long, big inside, a couple of big 6'11", 7-foot types inside that Nebraska will have to battle. But you got to go get one now that you've given one away at PBA. That's just how it works. And there's a lot of opportunities still ahead for Coach Hoiberg and this team.
Yeah, and as we've talked about at length, this was the toughest stretch of the schedule on paper. When you look at the metrics, with which Coach Hoiberg is really big on, this was the toughest stretch. So you get through that. Yeah, you would have liked to have won one or two more in that stretch. But, this is part of that tough stretch going to Maryland. But you got to do it. And that was Coach Hoiberg has stressed that a lot. Did the TV show with him today. It's imperative. They've got to find a way to get one on the road, but they've also got to find a way to take the energy and not effort, but the energy and poise that they have at home on the road. Especially on these early games, you got to be able to get yourself going, especially on the road. And so there's a couple of different challenges there, but they absolutely have got to find a way to steal a couple on the road since you gave that one up at home last night.
Yeah, tough stretch and tough results right now for Nebraska. So hopefully they can flush it, get ready for the game on Sunday at Maryland, and then back home for a while. But, yeah, he talked about this rugged 5-game stretch. They are in the heart of that right now, and it certainly looks that way. I thought the crowd was good last night. They're into it. The students aren't back. They're close. I think semester begins next week, so we get those students back. Man, they're missed, right? You miss not having that energy of the students. But, you talk about taking it to other team when you're on the road. Nebraska just did that at Creighton. When they played up in Omaha and got that win over the Blue Jays in November, they were the aggressive team. But I haven't seen that a lot when they've been on the road since that game with Creighton.
And, I will actually maybe counter a little bit. I thought the crowd was a little bit quieter than normal.
Really?
And I think a lot of that was because Rutgers every time, because I was sitting in the stands and Nebraska would get something going, we'd stand up, we'd start cheering, and then Rutgers would hit a big shot or get one of those offensive rebounds, and then everybody would kind of sit back down and be quiet. And so it just seemed like, again, every time you'd get into it and maybe get going, Rutgers had an answer for that. And so, but it was a good crowd. Don't get me wrong. You can't ever fault Husker Nation because they're always going to show up. But I don't think it was as loud as what we've heard. Even the last game out, which was UCLA. I don't know if it was that, but Nebraska gave the fans a lot to cheer about in that UCLA game, and it just seemed like against Rutgers was the one that on the road when. You talk about taking a crowd out of it. They had the answer to be able to do that, but it wasn't a bad crowd. I will say that. Not bad, but it just wasn't as loud, I don't think, as PBA has been in the past.
Don't love those 8 o'clock midweek tips either. That's really late for people. I mean, and then last night they got pushed back because the game ahead of them was going overtime. So, I think it's closer to 8:15 when they tipped that thing off. That's late. And, people get up and have to go to work or drive back to Omaha after the game. So
kids have school,
Yeah. So,
yeah.
But Maryland next. That's the next opportunity for the Cornhuskers in that. All right, here's what we have on the program tonight. Big duel out at the Devaney Center starting at 8 o'clock. Don't mind 8 o'clock when it's a Friday night. Nebraska welcoming number 1 Penn State. Jeff's had a chance earlier in the week to talk to Caleb Smith, Nebraska's 125-pounder. We'll hear that conversation coming up here in a little bit. And I'm continuing my series of chats with folks who have been part of the Huskers Sports Network down through the years. Jeff Culhane, who now is the voice of the Seminoles, is going to stop by in hour 2. We'll talk all things college sports, get his memories of his time here in Lincoln, and kind of where we're headed in college football. Some strange things obviously happening with that sport. And we want to get your thoughts on everything. 402-413-2400 if you want to fire off a text. Sports Nightly rolling along here on a Friday night.
I got to see my brother get married. miss my dad's birthday.
Because I wore my seatbelt, I had the privilege of being part of his special day.
I got to go home and see my family again.
Does it click yet?
Brought to you by NDOT Highway Safety Office.
I would have never had the chance to see my daughter become a doctor.
I was able to go to my brother's graduation.
I wouldn't have adopted my first pet.
And then it clicked. My seatbelt saved my life. Does it click yet?
Brought to you by NDOT Highway Safety Office.
There's something to be said for American-made, but at Monolith, we're helping create Nebraska-made. From here in Nebraska, we're producing low-emission carbon black for tires across North America. Soon we'll be providing farmers with locally made fertilizer to reduce our reliance on foreign imports. We're investing hundreds of millions in our multiple Nebraska facilities and employing Nebraskans in high-paying jobs that support families and communities. Monolith, Nebraska-made.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
When you're in the stands and have the ability to control your irrigation in the field, it's a game-changing moment. Valley is where farming meets end zone efficiency. With AgSense remote irrigation technology, farmers become the MVPs of their fields. Experience real-time, play-by-play action and control that keeps you ahead. Score big with irrigation technology from Valley. It's technology that improves your life and lets you be at the game and in the game. Find your local Valley dealer at valleyirrigation.com.
What does it mean to be locally owned and operated? For Cenex, it means everything. It means that we know if you take your coffee to go or if you like to stay a while. It means we've helped Little Leagues get jerseys and local festivals get funding. It means we know what our communities need. So you'll always leave Cenex with a full tank, full of snacks, or full of smiles. Or all of the above. And that means the world to us. Cenex, powered locally.
Husker fans, it's game day, and Pizza Hut's got your perfect play. Score the game day special for just $29.99. Get 2 medium 3-topping pizzas, 8 boneless wings, and 5 breadsticks. Enough to feed 8 hungry fans. Pizza, wings, breadsticks, and more. It's the ultimate lineup to fuel your game day. Check out the full menu online at pizzahut.com or in store. Because remember, no one out-pizzas the Hut.
They say consistency is the key to success. They weren't wrong. So how about grabbing a beer that's consistently smooth, consistently refreshing, and consistently light? You might just find that the road to success can be pretty enjoyable. Michelob Ultra, the perfect balance of taste and refreshment, and only 2.6 carbs and 95 calories. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. Anheuser-Busch Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
For 48 straight years, Ford F-Series have been the best-selling trucks in America. We got here by engineering breakthrough technology, redefining Built Ford Tough, and never settling for second best. But what's really made Ford F-Series the #1 selling trucks in America is you. Ford F-Series, Built Ford Tough. Based on 1977 to 2024 calendar year total sales.
I would have never had the chance to see my daughter become a doctor.
Because my mom wore her seatbelt that day, I get to hug her when I go home.
And then it clicked. Because I wore my seatbelt, I learned that one moment in time can change a person's life forever.
Brought to you by NDOT Highway Safety Office.
The day we were hit was the second to last day of our high school careers.
We were about to graduate as best friends together.
And then it clicked. Because we wore our seatbelt that day, we still get to experience life together.
Brought to you by NDOT Highway Safety Office.
Our Huskers Radio Network Broadcast Center, sponsored by Akrs. They are the Midwest premier John Deere dealer, supplying the equipment and service to advance agriculture and much more. Akrs solutions for every field. Greg Sharpe, Jessica Coody back with you Friday night. Sports Honor here on the Huskers Radio Network. Big wrestling duel going to get underway at 8 o'clock out of Bandy Center. #1 Penn State in town to take on the Big Red. This will be interesting tonight. Huskers coming off of a nice duel victory over Minnesota last weekend. Jess had a chance early in the week to catch up with 125-pounder, 6th-ranked Caleb Smith. Here's that conversation.
You are now, 2 seasons into being a Husker. How you liking wearing or representing Nebraska?
Man, I love it. There's a lot of responsibility and, accountability that comes with it, but I couldn't be at a better university. I love it.
Oh, that's great. Going into your final season, how did you approach that? What was your mindset? What did you think about going into knowing that this is it for you?
Honestly, at the beginning, I was a bit shaky because I was like, dang, this is really it. Like, I've been putting in so much work for such a long time, and I thought it would never end. But knowing that it's coming to an end, after the season started to progress, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to give it all I got every match, and whatever happens, like, God will take care of the rest. I just got to go out there, make sure that I'm prepared, and have fun, really.
That's great. You had some fun on Saturday. A big win for you, a top 5 win in the team win, too, over Minnesota. First one in Big Ten competition. How did you feel going into that? Going off the Huskers had lost the heavyweight. Minnesota took the lead. How did you approach going into that and getting the momentum back for Nebraska?
Yeah, I'm the hype man for the team, so I just went in there and I said, whatever is going to happen, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to make sure that I get the team energized. I went in there to perform, and I wasn't going to take no for an answer, whatever it takes. And I'm glad I got it done.
Coach was saying that you were maybe a little bit fueled by being disappointed maybe in your last time out and the performance the last time out. How much do you learn from each time that you go out there how to be better the next time out?
Well, you definitely learn when you win, but when you lose, it hurts. So you have no choice but to accept, I got to get better from this. Rather than saying, oh, I lost and, getting your head down, I looked at it as motivation. That's just a chance for me to get better. And, I was glad that it happened sooner than later because we're preparing for March, and every day we get closer to that. I got to be one step better than I was the day before. But just having that extra fire to know, I get to get a chance to get this one back and start to set myself up for the Big Ten tournament, looking at the bigger picture rather than the past moments. It gave me some extra fuel for the fire, for sure.
That's awesome. When you get a win like that, a big win over a guy that's top ranked in the nation, how much confidence does that give you? How much do you take away from it, being that you're probably going to see him again? Is it just one thing where you just move on to the next, or can you take some momentum, some confidence away from that kind of win?
Yeah, I'm definitely excited about it and thankful. But like you said, it's just one match. And, some people get too excited or too down based off their past results. For me, I don't really care. The only thing that matters to me is really, how do I end? If I perform great the whole season and I don't perform well in the postseason, then, to me that was a waste. But moving forward, I just tell myself, like, that was good. Now let's get back to it. Let's see if we can top that next week.
That's great. Well, take us back to your start, how you got into wrestling. How'd you fall in love with the sport?
Man, it started in football, actually.
Really?
My 7th grade year. At least in North Carolina, that's when you can compete for the school. Some other states you can do that in like middle school or whatever, or not middle school, like 6th grade or something like that. But 7th grade is when I started, and one of the captains of the wrestling team, he was the best wrestler, Nick Lord. He told me, he's like, man, you work really hard. Like, I think you should wrestle. And I was like, what? I don't even know what that is. Are we going to have WWE chairs or something like that? Like, where's the ropes? Or I had no clue what he was talking about, but he was like, just give it a try. And there was this other dude, Andrew Chu, which was Nick Lord's best friend, and he was on the wrestling team as well. And he said, hey, I'll be y'all's football manager if you come out for wrestling. Just try out. And that kind of convinced me to give it a try, and ever since I haven't looked back.
Wow. Were you immediately good at it, or what did you like about it, I guess?
So first practice, like I said, I was hoping for the chairs and like nails and all that stuff. I was like, where is this at? And that was not what it was. So I was kind of confused and a little let down, but they taught us a double leg, and I remember shooting my first double leg, like going live, which is like, sparring or kind of your competition in practice. And I remember shooting my first double leg, got the dude off his feet. And I was like, dang, I kind of like this. Like, I could do this. And seeing how hard it was, just a challenge between myself to get better every day, like, I instantly fell in love with it just because I love to work hard and, see that work pay off over a long period of time.
Oh, that's awesome. You were looking for the chairs when you went into the first wrestling practice.
I was ready to throw hands, and when there was no hands being thrown, I was like, well, now I don't know what to do. Like, this is not what I signed up for. But I was excited, and it's paid off.
Oh, that's an incredible story. So you played football. Did you play basketball too? Were you an all-sport kind of guy growing up?
See, I wanted to play basketball. I had hoop dreams. I wanted to be the next Muggsy Bogues because I saw he was like 5'4", 5'3" in the league, and I was like, man, that could be me. And then I tried to play basketball in PE, and I can't shoot. And I could dribble a little bit. I could pass. I could play defense, but it was not in the books for me. These guys were over here touching the rim. In middle school, like, we had some crazy athletes, and our basketball teams were always really good. Like, at least in high school, they won 2 state championships in 4 years that I was there. And so I was like, yeah, I don't think this is going to be for me. So I had to figure out something, and I played football. I did a little bit of, like, long distance and track because I had pretty good lungs, and I knew it was going to help me for wrestling. And then my dad, we had talk one day. He was like, hey, you know, it was after my freshman year playing JV football. And he was like, hey, you might want to pick one that you want to focus on, because if you want to get to college, like you said, because all I wanted to do was become a D1 athlete. He's like, if you want to get to college, like, you're going to have to put in a lot of time, and you're going to have a completely different life than all these other guys because you're starting late, so you got to catch up. So if I were you, I would wrestle, because it seems like that's what you're the best at naturally, but he's like, it's up to you. And ultimately, I chose the same path that he thought, and it's like we see, it's been paying off pretty well.
I would say so. So what was that process like then to becoming where you were being recruited, and how did that feel when you got your first offer to do this at a collegiate level?
So it was at App State, my old alumni, like that Coach Bentley, he recruited me in high school, and like the coaches can't talk to you whenever you're younger, like I guess until you turn a junior, but my freshman year at States, I was wrestling, and he went up and talked to our head coach, and he was like, hey, that kid, I think he's going to be pretty good. Like, I could use him in the future, so tell him keep working. And because he chose me first, and he was loyal to me, I stayed loyal to him, and that was my first ever wrestling camp that I went to, was App State. And they have a great culture. Like, everybody's pretty close-knit, kind of like Nebraska. And I didn't get a lot of offers out of high school. I had, like, I don't know, 2, 3 max for Division I schools. It was going to Gardner-Webb, App State, or Kent State, because I placed 3rd at the senior nationals in Virginia Beach, and after that they started recruiting me. Kent State did, and I was like, yeah, well, I'm already committed, like verbally committed here, and I'm not going to change up on them. So that's how that went, and ended up 4 years at App State, and it went pretty good. Ended up helping me propel myself to being at the Big Ten. Yeah, so take me through that decision then, when you decided to look for the next step and where you wanted to spend your final seasons wrestling, how you landed on Nebraska, and why you made that decision. Well, there's a lot that went into it. Honestly with you, like, my faith was a big part about it, something that I had prayed about, because I had thought about transferring in like my sophomore year, just because I felt like I deserved to be in the lineup. But something our coach said is, like, delayed gratification, meaning that you put in work for a long period of time, and eventually it pays off, and then you feel successful, and it's more worth it. And so I stayed there, and I gave them my 4 years. I graduated from there. But like I said, my faith played a big part, because I had to pray about it, and I was asking God, like, what do you want me to do? Where do you want me to go? And he's like, what's important to you? And being in the Big Ten was important to me, because the schedule strength is just consistent, like top 10 guys back to back to back. And that's something that I wanted to help elevate myself and make sure that I'm prepared at nationals whenever I get there. It's not a big deal. Like, I wrestle those guys every day, and the people in our room, like, they could be big top 10 dudes too. But that was a big thing, and I felt like God sent me here because he wanted me to start to plant seeds in other people to help build more disciples. And ultimately, like, when I talked to Coach Manning, he was a faith-based dude, and he had, like, the whole coaching staff believes in God, and they're strong about their faith, and that's something that's important to them. And that was really what was most important to me, because I didn't want to lose that for success. So whenever I talked to him, I was like, this feels like home, just because we didn't even talk about wrestling whenever he first called me. We talked for, like, an hour or so, and he was just talking about his roots in North Carolina and how he's been there and he knows some things about North Carolina. He surprised me, but him not talking to me about wrestling was probably the best thing that could have happened, because it showed me that he cares more about me as a person rather than just what I could do for him. And I was like, wow, like if this dude cares about me that much and he doesn't even really know me, he just wants to take a chance on me, like imagine what type of relationship we could have and what we could accomplish together. And he's Coach Jordan Burroughs, the greatest wrestler of all time. I was like, how could I pass that up? And ultimately, like in the beginning, I really didn't want to go anywhere. And I was really conflicted. And my club coaches, my parents, my grandparents, my girlfriend, like it was a big decision because it's so far away from home, almost 2,000 miles away from me. But they all told me, like, you know, this is something that you dreamed of as a kid, and if you don't take this opportunity, you're probably going to regret it in the future. And so I told myself, like, all right, they're probably right. They know me best. So I got to go take a chance on myself and see how it plays out. And I did.
Wow, that is incredible. Gives me chills. So fast forward your first season, and at the end of it, first-time All-American. Did it all just kind of come to, like, all the picture kind of come together after that? Because after you thought about it, you're going through it, and then, hey, All-American, how did that feel, I guess?
Man, honestly, I told myself, like, I'm going to make it worth it. Like, this is such a big change. I have to do whatever it takes to make it worth it. And ultimately, when that happened, it's just like a relief. Like, it felt probably better than me winning my state title. And I was just so grateful. There was so much gratitude. Like, I can't really compare it to anything because that's a big honor, and that's something that I had been striving for multiple years. But to see it finally happen and to have so many people do it with me, like, it just felt like a big party.
Where do you felt like you grew as an athlete the most to be able to allow you to get to that goal last year?
I feel like consistency as far as my preparation and just hand fighting. Like, I have good shots and pretty good defense for the most part, but I elevated those things whenever I got here, and I was able to learn how to hand fight rather than just wrestling from space or not really touching people. It helped build my confidence a lot because that's something that I hadn't really worked on that much, or really it didn't click until I got here. And being able to see those skills grow over the long period of time that I had been here, or short period of time, you could say, it just gave me so much confidence in my wrestling and myself and my abilities.
Every wrestler that I talk to that sits right there in that microphone talk about how much they grow as athletes when they're here. Why is that? Why is it that this program, Coach Manning, this staff, the people in the wrestling room get the best out of you?
Because we have the best coaching staff that you could have. Like, we have Coach Manning, 300 wins. Like, what? And the thing that he said, because I was trying to celebrate his 300 wins, he was like, no, we'll celebrate 301. And I was like, dang. Like, that right there is the standard of Nebraska. Like, it's not about necessarily right this moment, let's keep getting better. Let's keep getting better. And our coaches always preach that we're not finished products. So whether you perform great or you perform not as great as you thought you could, they're always there to support you. And having them believe in you so much and being able to push you, like we have Travell Delagniff, Olympic bronze medalist, Coach Green, 8-time world team member and world medalist, and Coach Snyder, he's, 3-time finalist or something like that, 4-time All-American. Like, those are some really high accolades. And being surrounded by the best, you're only going to get the best out of yourself.
That's great. So how much did you take away then from the All-American finishing last season on the podium? How much did you take from that? And to this season, what did you take away that, okay, I need to be better to even improve my standing on the podium?
Yeah, so this summer I spent a lot of time on the mat, and my first couple of matches I didn't really get to see it pay off. But last match, I just trusted the training that I had done all summer in preparation, and getting a ride out on a top 5 dude is, like, that's really hard to do because everybody's good, and you make one mistake and the match could slip away from you real quick. So I knew that finishing 6th, like, I had room to grow because I'm going to finish on the top of that podium. And I knew that in order to do that, I would have to improve on the mat and tighten up my finishes, as well as like just my confidence whenever I go out into wrestling. So working on my mental game and all these little factors that people don't always give credit. My coaches have helped support me and help me grow over that period of time.
Oh, what a fun conversation. Again, that's Caleb Smith with Nebraska Wrestling 125-pounder. And what a great story. Just his journey here, and got a big one tonight. I can tell talking with them, this team believes. We heard from Mark Manning earlier in the week. Somebody's got to take Penn State down eventually. Why not us? And they believe they're a good team. And looks like, seeing some videos, it looks like Devaney's starting to be hopping out there with people lining up to get in. You still have an opportunity. Still got plenty of time. 8 o'clock is the start there as the Huskers take on number 1 Penn State. Should be a rocking atmosphere tonight. And it's also on Big Ten Network if you can't make it out and want to watch it on TV. All right, gonna step aside for a break. More to come on Sports Nightly coming up after this.
For 48 straight years, Ford F-Series have been the best-selling trucks in America. We got here by engineering breakthrough technology, redefining Built Ford Tough, and never settling for second best. But what's really made Ford F-Series the #1 selling trucks in America is you. Ford F-Series, built Ford Tough. Based on 1977 to 2024 calendar year total sales.
On game day, every play counts. Now imagine having the same level of control in your field. Valley is where farming meets end zone efficiency. With AgSense remote irrigation technology, farmers become the MVPs of their fields. Real-time, play-by-play control means you're always ahead of the game. Score big with simplified irrigation technology from Valley, improving your life both on and off the field. Find your local Valley dealer at valleyirrigation.com.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
Dear Truckin' Awesome. Want more horsepower in the stable? The Tundra iForce Max is the most powerful Tundra ever. With its electrifying twin-turbo V6, you got everything you need. Saddle up the Tacoma TRD Pro. Its segment-first performance seats are designed to smooth out the shocks when the ride gets bumpy. The Toyota 4Runner is part mean streak, part wild side, and an all-around icon. Check out that signature power rear window, will ya? Yes, sir, Toyota trucks. Find yours at toyota.com. Toyota, let's go places.
See your Omaha Metro and Lincoln Toyota dealers. Corwin Toyota of Bellevue, Village Point Toyota of Omaha, Baxter Toyota of La Vista, or Baxter Toyota of Lincoln. Set. Hike. When champions take the field, they come ready to play. TNL Irrigation understands the value of momentum. Like a Husker drive, there's no stopping. If you live for farming and football like we do, TNL Irrigation has you covered. Check your fields from the game with a remote system, or just enjoy the play knowing our systems are reliable as a sold-out Memorial Stadium. Touchdown! Nebraska born, Nebraska strong. Husker Nation and TNL Irrigation are like no other.
Nebraska soybeans power everyday products, from Goodyear tires and Skechers shoes to soy-based turf and fire suppressants. These innovations replace petroleum and utilize other components of the soybean, leading to more sustainable products worldwide.
I'm Doug Sadoff, a farmer near Trumbull, Nebraska. Thanks to cutting-edge research, soybeans are now in everything from tires to turf. It's amazing to see how these advancements are unlocking new potential for our crops.
Soybeans are a win for every product and everyone. Nebraska soybeans, feeding, fueling, and innovating for the future.
You expect your home to protect everything you love, but you don't expect the ways water is breaking down your crawl space and damaging your home. Musty smells, sagging floors, mold are just a few signs your crawl space is compromised. But there's one way to get answers to all your concerns: a free home inspection from Groundworks. We put water back in its place. Get your free inspection at groundworks.com. License number C142293.
When you're in the stands and have the ability to control your irrigation in the field, it's a game-changing moment. Valley is where farming meets end zone efficiency. With AgSense remote irrigation technology, farmers become the MVPs of their fields. Experience real-time, play-by-play action and control that keeps you ahead. Score big with irrigation technology from Valley. It's technology that improves your life and lets you be at the game and in the game. Find your local Valley dealer at valleyirrigation.com.
Woodhouse has been a trusted partner in your everyday since 1975. Shop for your next vehicle with the home team at Woodhouse, the official auto dealer of Nebraska Athletics. Well, what a fun interview. What a fun guy to listen to in Caleb Smith. He's had a nice career at Nebraska in just a couple of years.
Yeah, and, just love hearing his journey about, he wanted to stick it out, but then thought he could make it at this level, and then just how much he's grown. He was an NCAA qualifier, but first-time All-American last year after how much he grew as a wrestler here with Nebraska, and thought he was going to wrestling practice to throw some chairs and throw hands, and realized it was not WWE, but fell in love with it. And what a cool story. And even though he hadn't been here very long, you can just tell how much he appreciates being a Husker. So that was fun. Josh and I were rolling, laughing, though, hearing about his what he thought he was walking into wrestling practice that first time, and it ended up not being, but he loved it anyways.
Good for him. That atmosphere tonight, I'll be shocked if it's not electric at the Devaney Center. Wrestling crowds are a little different than some other fans. I think they'll be fired up. You're going to go see a great team in Penn State. We're a huge underdog. I get that, but I think Nebraska can go pick off a couple of weight classes.
Well, yeah, and you look at it and you look at the rankings and you look at the names, and probably Penn State is favored in a lot of them, but Nebraska's got a few that they're favored in too. You got a guy like Ridge Lovett, so you're talking about seeing some of the best wrestlers and watching some of the top wrestlers that will be competing at nationals and be in the hunt for national titles on both sides tonight. And there's a lot of great wrestlers in the Big Ten, but when you're talking about every single weight class, just about watching somebody that runs out there that's probably going to be, their name's going to be in that mix for competing for national titles, you don't always get that. But I agree with you. It was electric. Coach Manning, you heard him talking about that earlier this week in the Saturday afternoon duel, which is not always the case, but in the Saturday afternoon against Minnesota, it was rocking. So I can only imagine what it's going to be like in there tonight.
Should be fun. Again, 8 o'clock, so still time. And I think there's still a few tickets available. Pretty close to a sellout, but still a few tickets available. You picked up on this during the break that Isaiah Garcia Castaneda is entered the transfer portal. I cannot believe he's still got eligibility left. Injuries were a problem for him his entire time in Lincoln. Steady hands. You knew that he was going to catch all those punts. Wished he would have been able to break a couple of those, but we wish him nothing but the best. But a guy that certainly has had an interesting path in his college days as well, isn't he? Yeah, and his post, you can tell how much he appreciated also his time at Nebraska. And he was a guy that had entered the portal, came back, really thinks a lot of Coach Rule and this staff. But he's probably one of those guys when you start talking about the numbers and trying to get down, but also, hey, you could probably, with the additions that they've made at wide receiver, again, probably not going to have as many opportunities. So probably one of those conversations with Coach Rule of, hey, we appreciate what you've done, but if you're looking for a certain kind of role, you might see what's out there for you. But that's how these conversations are going to continue to go, as some of these guys are you've got to get the numbers down. So we're going to keep seeing those names enter the portal. No doubt. Hey, folks, 402-413-2400. If you want to fire off a text, we need to slip in our final break of the hour. We're back to wrap up hour one next.
You expect your home to protect everything you love, but you don't expect the ways water is breaking down your foundation and damaging your home. Cracks in walls and uneven floors are just a few signs your foundation is compromised. But there's one way to get answers to all your concerns: a free home inspection from Groundworks. We put water back in its place. Get your free inspection at groundworks.com. License number C142293.
Your Husker football team is fresh off a Pinstripe Bowl victory and are gearing up for an exciting 2025 season. Secure your seat in the Sea of Red for all 7 home games this fall by becoming a 2025 Husker football season ticket holder today. 2025 football season tickets are on sale now in select end-zone locations and start at just $420. To purchase, visit huskers.com/tickets. Go Big Red.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
If there's one thing Nebraska's known for, it's our beef. And Nebraska soybeans feed a lot of them, and even more pigs and chickens.
I'm Jason Pinky, a farmer near Craig, Nebraska. Soybeans are vital for feeding our livestock, and they're also a powerhouse protein source for people worldwide. Our world needs protein, and Nebraska soybeans are making a difference.
From tailgate grills to global plates, farmers deliver affordable, nutritious protein to build muscle and energy for everyone. Nebraska soybeans, feeding, fueling, and innovating for the future.
In the heartland, where ambition thrives, there are those who are made and those who are made for more. Just like the Huskers on game day, Kloss, a leading producer of ag equipment, unleashes the power of ambition in the field. Discover why our cutting-edge machinery and unwavering support aren't just a promise, they're a commitment to your success. Because at Kloss, we know you are made for more. Visit your Kloss dealer or CLAAS.com.
Our Huskers Radio Network Broadcast Center, sponsored by Akrs. They are the Midwest's premier John Deere dealer, supplying the equipment and service to advance agriculture and much more. Akrs solutions for every field. Final few minutes of hour one. Coming up in hour two, Jeff Culhane, former host of this show, is going to join us from Tallahassee. He's now the voice of the Florida State Seminoles. We'll reminisce, talk about the current state of college sports and in particular the college football world. Ohio State left today to go to Atlanta to get ready for Monday night's championship game. They're a pretty big favorite, Jess. I think Notre Dame will hang in there, but it's hard to bet against Ohio State and all the weapons, and they're playing some really good football right now.
Yeah, I guess, is this our last chance? Are we picking the national championship?
We need to get them all locked in by Monday. The big dog's been AWOL all week, so we'll get his pick though. But I'm going Buckeyes.
I am too. I'm also going to Ohio State. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if Notre Dame can hang in there. We heard Nick Hanley the other night. He was saying that maybe Notre Dame, because they got a mobile quarterback, could give Ohio State defense a little bit of trouble. But I think Ohio State. I'm going to roll with Ohio State.
Yeah, I mean, if the two teams play to their abilities, I think the Buckeyes win.
Yeah.
But we've seen Ohio State kind of lay some eggs this year. And if they do that, Notre Dame's certainly capable of beating them. I'm anxious to see it. Can't wait to see it. I know probably no TV will be even turned on in SEC country. It's probably driving them crazy, Jess, if they don't have a team for the second year in a row in the championship game.
How crazy is it, too, to think about the narrative of Ohio State fans like 2 months ago? And now they are the favorite to win the national championship, right where they thought they would be all along, but they were pretty unhappy there for a little bit. But hey, I love it. No SEC team, got a chance to go back-to-back Big Ten, and I'm loving the silencing of the haters like Paul Feinbaum and those guys. We'll see. It'll be interesting to see how ESPN approaches coverage of this game too, with no SEC team.
No doubt. Over the weekend, dark day for the network. Tomorrow, men's basketball Sunday, 10 a.m. for pregame as they play Maryland at 11. Hour 2 is next.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
Nebraskans are choosing chiropractic for better health. Why chiropractic? Because it's safe, drug-free, and a cost-effective treatment option for back and joint pain. Plus, all generations can benefit from natural chiropractic care. Choose chiropractic first for pain relief or to improve your mobility, athletic performance, or overall wellness. Make chiropractic your first choice for better health, and find a chiropractic physician near you at nebraska-chiropractic.org. Get your life back with chiropractic.
Attention, Husker Nation. Are you ready to power up your game? Sap Brothers high-quality off-road red diesel is the fuel that powers your equipment. As official sponsors of the Huskers, we're here with a winning offer with the Sap Brothers Go Big Red Fuel Giveaway. Contract your upcoming fuel needs by February 1st and enter to win 1,000 free gallons of our off-road red diesel to keep your engine roaring and equipment running strong. Sap Brothers fuels Husker Nation. Visit sapbros.net/fuel giveaway for more info.
Hey Huskers, it's a new day in Nebraska. Manzer Equipment, Mertz Farm Equipment, and West Point Implement of Columbus have teamed up as True Ag and Turf. Coach Rule is bringing innovation and high-performance standards to Husker football, and True Ag is doing the same to your farm with game-changing Fendt equipment. As Big Red establishes power on the field, True Ag and Turf does the same in the field by welcoming Fendt to Nebraska.
You may have heard about Monolith, how right here in Nebraska, we're producing low-emission carbon black for tires across North America, how we'll soon be providing farmers with locally made fertilizer to reduce our reliance on foreign imports, how we're investing hundreds of millions in multiple Nebraska facilities. You might have heard Monolith is changing the world. We're not. You are. Along with many other Nebraskans in high-paying jobs that support families and communities. Monolith, Nebraska made.
Good evening. I'm Henry Goodwin, and our sports ticker is brought to you by the Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services. In Husker soccer news, today, Sarah Weber signed a 2-year deal with Racing Louisville. The NWSL team signed Weber after an electric college career, scoring 43 goals and 16 assists over the past 4 years. She was also a 3-time All-Big Ten Conference first-team selection. In Husker bowling news, the third-ranked Nebraska bowling team went 5-0 in their first day of competition at the Northeast Classic in Delaware, tallying a pinfall of 5,443 and finishing in first place. The Nebraska men's tennis team is set to open its 2025 spring season at home tomorrow with a doubleheader against Drake and Bellarmine. The Huskers host the Bulldogs at 11 a.m. and the Knights at 4 p.m. at the Dillon Tennis Center to start their dual campaign. Our sports ticker is sponsored by the Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services. Call a timeout. If you or someone you know is struggling or in crisis, the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is there. Call, text, or chat 988. It's free, confidential, and staffed with trained counselors ready to listen and provide support. Now, get ready for Hour 2 of Sports Nightly, right here on the Huskers Radio Network.
Coming to you live from Memorial Stadium, it's Sports Nightly. All the Huskers, all the time. Sports Nightly is presented to you by the NDOT Highway Safety Office, who remind you to buckle up and put the phone down.
Here comes UCLA the other way. Sebastian Mack, jump stop in the paint. It's taken away from him by Hoiberg. Hoiberg stripped him. Hoiberg across the timeline. Hoiberg waits for his teammates. On the pass to Butengel, puts it up. Got it! Bang! Hooray! Merkin! Hoiberg driving, left lane line stopping, goes weak side, bounce pass. Morgan's got it, strong with the ball, puts it up and in, and one. Nebraska with a 9-point lead, their biggest of the game. What a strong move by Morgan.
Rebound Campbell, Penn State looks to retake the lead. Britt Prince knocked it away at half court. Bojan got the loose ball. Bojan volleyball bats it to Prince. Rimdahl for 3, deep left wing. You betcha! Off the assist from Britt Prince. Out Bernie Rimdahl with a Central Valley A3. Forces a Penn State timeout.
Now, here are your hosts, Greg Sharpe and Jessica Coody on the Huskers Radio Network.
Back Sports Nightly, our final hour of the night, and of course, final hour of the week. We've spent a little bit of time the last several weeks just kind of going through, going down memory lane a little bit, talking to some guys who have meant an awful lot to me and in the business and have done great things for the Huskers Radio Network. And this next gentleman will be with us for a good chunk of tonight's hour. Certainly fits that bill, and that's Jeff Culhane, currently the voice of the Florida State Seminoles. You beat me to Lincoln, Jeff, by what, 3 months that you started before I did?
Oh, I don't think it was quite that long, Greg, honestly. It is great to see you, by the way, and great to hear your voice. Thank you for having me on the show. Always a pleasure. I got to Lincoln in mid-December of 2007. Wow, that sounds crazy to say right now. And you had I'll remember this day, the first time I heard you call a game, Greg. I was in Yankton, South Dakota. It's my first job out of college. And at the time, I'm working for my uncle, and we're doing everything in radio. I'm doing, play-by-play, shows, selling, production, imaging, everything, right? First job out of college. And it was the Kansas State game in 2007. And I was pulling into my apartment parking complex, and it was KYNT and Yankton at the time was a Huskers Radio Network affiliate. And I heard Greg Sharpe for the first time on the air, and it just left such an impression on me. I was like, wow, this guy is outstanding. And I called Lane Grindle, who Husker fans obviously know, our good friend who's with the Brewers now, and I said, you got yourself a pretty good play-by-play guy right there. And you were filling in at the end of that season, and obviously got the full-time gig right after that. And I remember you had an event, I want to say it was either in It was soon after I arrived, or maybe after the holidays, probably. And first time I saw you, we were up in our old Haymarket studios, and you were dressed up for the event. And it was the first time we met and hit it off right away. I think the first time I saw you you were calling a men's or a women's game then for the old Fox Sports package at the Devaney Center. And we said hello again, and you said, "Hey, welcome aboard." And I go, "Right back at you," I said to you at the time. And those are my memories of the first time hearing you, which obviously left a huge impact on me, and then meeting you in person. And man, I'm so lucky to have done that and have you as a friend and a mentor. That's for darn sure.
Well, interesting story. You talked about the Fox Sports package for TV. That I was doing that for Nebraska for 4 or 5 years. I think we did about 7 or 8 men's games, 3 or 4 women's games. And my first official duty after getting the job full time was going to be a baseball broadcast out of Stanford at Palo Alto on a Friday. And I had a basketball game in Lincoln on Thursday, and the weather was not great. So I came and did the basketball game, drove down to Kansas City after the game because I had a direct flight from Kansas City to San Francisco. Then there was like a fog delay. San Francisco had a heavy fog sitting in. So I'm calling Lane, who I was going to hook up with and call baseball that year with, and said, "Lane, it's going to be tight whether I get there in time. You better be ready to go." And I can almost hear a quiver in his voice. Now, here's a guy that's going to go on to be a big league baseball broadcaster, and he's got a quiver in his voice about ready to call a Nebraska-Stanford baseball game. But I landed just in time, took about an $80 cab ride from the airport to Sunken Diamond, got there. The open had already fired. Lane had done kind of the preliminary open. I haven't filled out my scorebook. I looked at Lane. I go, "Hey, why don't you call the first inning or two so I can get settled here?" He's like, "Oh, no, I'm not doing that." I'm like, "Phew, thanks, brother." Hung me out to dry. He hung me out to dry.
Well, I remember that vividly as well because, I was your guys' board op. I was a producer. Yeah. And so it was you, Lane, and I for all 55 games that spring of 08. And that was a magical season for Husker baseball. It was great. And I remember that story. That was a big trip for our company at the time. We had a lot of clients out there in San Francisco that weekend. Our old GM, David Whitty, got that all lined up and ready to go. I remember the cab ride. You're talking about how much it cost, and we were kind of laughing about it. And, and the other thing about that was Lane Grendel's first game as basically a full-time play-by-play guy.
Right.
For Husker baseball. He had done, filled in on some midweek games in the past, but that was the year, obviously, where you're the voice of the Huskers. That was your first official game as the voice in 08. And Lane was so, he was so excited. He was so nervous. I'll never forget how much prep work he did for those first games, all these note cards.
Little cards, yeah.
Oh, my God. Everything. He would – I wish he was with us right now. He would just laugh. He's calling, Brewers games for the last 7 or 8 years, and he was ready to go, man. And it was obvious then that was a huge passion for him, and maybe indirectly, quite honestly, with where his career has gone now as a Major League Baseball broadcaster. And certainly, our thoughts are with Lane and, with the passing of Bob Uecker, who is a great friend of his, and Mr. Baseball, so amazing for so many people. But yeah, I remember that. And yeah, that 08 year, man, Johnny Dorn and all the guys hosted a regional that year. And yeah, it was you and Lane were the soundtrack of that season. And man, what a joy that was. That was a lot of fun that spring.
And we mixed you in then as the third guy.
I got one. Yeah, I got one that year. I filled in for you. I think it might have been, maybe it was spring game weekend.
Could have been.
I can't remember, but I called one game that year, and I believe we were playing. Oh man, who was it? It was, if I remember correctly, it was an extra inning game, like a 12 or 13 inning game.
Texas A&M, maybe?
Might have been. And Jake Opitz sliding under a tag late in the game to win it. Lane with a great call to finish it off. But Aaron Probanik was the starter for Nebraska that night. yeah, I got one that year, and then I think it was probably around 2010, the 10 season, I started to have a few more games with you guys. But those baseball seasons, man, they were a ball. They were a lot of fun. And yeah, that first one you had, that one goes in the book that all play-by-play broadcasters have for travel. We all have some interesting stories with that.
Yeah, and that's the last time Nebraska hosted. You are not currently doing college baseball with your work at Florida State. Do you miss it?
No, and it's not because I don't love baseball. I do love calling baseball, but I really don't, honestly. I really don't. Where I'm at in my life right now, we've got 2 young boys who are going to be, 6 and 3 coming up in June here. And, I thought it would, Greg. I really did, because it was part of my life for 15, 16 years every spring for the most part. And when I left Nebraska and went to West Virginia, I was the guy there, right? And so I called as all the games we had on the air. And, a lot of the times I was on my own calling 9 innings on the road, and got to NDSU, and we really amplified the coverage. They had really never been on the radio before for outside of just one-offs, like when Minnesota came to town and played them in Fargo every once in a while. And we really ramped that up. And I love baseball, man. I love just the overall vibe of it. I love being around the guys. I mean, I know you know what I'm talking about. It's just a different feel, right? It's intense, it's competitive, but there's just this different, I don't want to call it laid back, but baseball is just different. It's just different. People that play the game and have been around and know what I'm talking about. But man, I got here and I really enjoyed being a fan and going to the games. And I think also for the first time, Greg, being in the South, being able to sit outside in February without having to bundle up and watch a game, I felt pretty cool about that. Yeah. And so no, I really don't miss it. If I got the opportunity again, I would obviously jump at it. But I'm enjoying being a fan with my family and my boys watching Florida State baseball. And it was fun to get back to Omaha last summer when the Noles made it back to the College World Series. It's always just such a joy to be in Omaha that time of year.
No doubt. Visiting with Jeff Culhane, we're going down memory lane. Jeff used to be the host of Sports Nightly. Let's talk a little bit about Sports Nightly, because you came as Lane's producer, was one of your primary roles for Sports Nightly. You guys had an awful lot of fun. You came up with some really creative, different kind of one-offs, like your lock it up picks on Friday night during the football season, which I don't know how your final percentage was. Was it good or not? I don't remember.
My 2 years as the full-time host from 2011 to the fall of 2013, my first year was really good. It was really good. And I'll always kick myself, Sharpie. In that first year in 2011, I was too weak to pull the trigger on Johnny Manziel and A&M going into Alabama and winning, because I wanted to pick it. But I couldn't get myself to do it. I just couldn't do it. And that's the one that still sits with me this day when you talk about the lock 'em up picks. I really thought A&M would win. I was just like, man, they're a first-year SEC team going into Tuscaloosa. I mean, I think they're going to win. I think Manziel's got some magic. I just couldn't pull the trigger. And they did. And I was just like, dang it. One of those picks where you just didn't listen to your gut. But my first year, pretty good. My second year, you know how it is, man. That's why Vegas has the biggest buildings. I was not great my second year on Lock It Up.
Well, Lock It Up was one thing I remember, but you guys had an awful lot of fun. You incorporated your producers in the show, and you and Lane's rapport was always so good, and it goes back to you guys have known each other for so long, right?
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. And we started working together when he was 24 years old and I was 22. And we worked in sports talk together. And I had never done sports talk before. I mean, I was fresh out of college. He had been just starting working full time. He had started his own talk show. We were both working for my uncle Kevin, who had been in radio and TV for the longest time, and he gave us both an opportunity. And we always joke about how hard he worked us, but it's exactly what we needed. It's exactly what we needed early in our careers to understand what it took to be successful. And yeah, we worked together all the time. We worked together every day. We called games together. And that was, honestly, Greg, it wasn't for that long. It was only for 4 months. And then Lane got the job with Sports Nightly in I would say December of 05, in January of 06. That's how long ago it was.
Yep.
And we stayed in touch, and I was awful on sports talk. After I took over the show, the show locally we did together when he was in Lincoln, I realized how bad I was and how much work I had to do. And it was hard. I mean, sports talk is really hard every single day. I mean, people that listen and, think that, I could do that. It's no big deal. It's tough, man. It is a grind, and, booking guests and topics and trying to figure out how to interact with your audience on a daily basis. It's definitely not an easy thing, especially in the slow times of year when there's not a whole lot going on. And yeah, so Lane and I, stayed in touch after that, and it was almost, another 2 years, I want to say. And so towards the end of 2007, I was actually thinking about getting out, quite honestly, because wasn't making a lot of money, was doing a ton. I was working a ton of hours, and, it was Lane who kind of gave me a pep talk, and he was like, hey, he goes, I totally get it. He just said, he goes, you're too talented. You're too good to stop doing this right now to go out and try and make a bunch of money. I think you'll be really unhappy in what you do because I know you love this and you're really good at it. He goes, let's just see what shakes out. And man, within 6 to 8 weeks after that conversation, I was working at the Huskers Sports Network in Lincoln with you guys. And obviously it was a blessing. And to be able to spend that time in Lincoln was, there's a lot of home-like qualities to Lincoln when I return, and it feels like I never left. And certainly a lot of people, a lot of friends there like yourself and Matt and Lane and Ben and everybody that's still around the network and the university and athletic department that, when I see them, it's just kind of like, oh, hey, how's it going? Like, it feels like I haven't been gone. And that's how you're at a great place with great people. And that's what my time at Nebraska really meant to me.
Well, let's fast forward to this fall. You were my backup for the Colorado game, so you were back in the booth. It was great to see you that weekend, and I know it stole a bye week away from your busy schedule at FSU, so I certainly appreciate it. How was it coming back and watching a game at Memorial Stadium then a few months back?
Yeah, it was phenomenal, and I've been lucky enough to be at some different places now and see some different environments and atmospheres. And, my time in Morgantown, my time in a smaller level, but certainly a Power 4, Power 5 feel at North Dakota State with the way they treat football there and the success and the national titles and big games. And, and then here at Florida State, wow, just, so blessed to be a part of this family here now in my third year and moving forward. But to come back, there was definitely a nostalgic feel, Greg, about it. I hadn't been in the booth a lot with you guys during my time because, again, I was in the studio. So I think I was at maybe 3 or 4 games in the booth. And it's funny how as you spend more time in that setting, how you see things differently and the angles. And, I had forgotten how high up and vertical you are in the booth. You're really right on top of the action in Memorial Stadium where, comparing it to what I see at Doak Campbell Stadium, we're a little bit further back and high up. And so that's the first thing that I recognized in that setting was you guys are really right on top of the action and almost looking down from your perch in a lot of ways. And so, that was the first thing I recognized. I kind of went into game mode as I got in there. And then, after that, it was the nostalgic feel. It was, the tunnel walk. It's the music that's played in Memorial Stadium, the fans, the halftime show while I was there was unbelievable. The drone show, you're honoring, I think the 94 team that night against Colorado and having all those guys back and, being a part of watching that celebration. I mean, that's what makes college football the best. And, I thought about, people have asked me, hey, would you do the NBA or Major League Baseball full time? And I'm just like, man, I love college football. I love college football. And even with everything changing, I still love it. And there's just this connection to the history and the past and everywhere you go that I think is truly unique with college football. I don't know what it is. I don't know why it doesn't feel like that in pro sports. But that's just how I feel with college football. And so, the Val's Pizza in the media room and everything, and seeing everybody that I hadn't seen in a long time, it makes that return and being, next to you guys for a game and listening to you call a game so special. And there was definitely a lot of nostalgic feels when I was back here in Lincoln in September.
Well, it was great to have you there. Do you got time for another segment, or are you up against the clock?
I got all day. Let's do the whole show, pal. You tell me when we're done, all right?
Very good, very good. Hey, Woodhouse has been a trusted partner in your everyday since 1975. Shop for your next vehicle with the home team at Woodhouse and the official auto dealer of Nebraska Athletics. Back with more with Jeff Culhane. We'll talk some college football next.
Nebraskans are choosing chiropractic for better health. Why chiropractic? Because it's safe, drug-free, and a cost-effective treatment option for back and joint pain. Plus, all generations can benefit from natural chiropractic care. Choose chiropractic first for pain relief or to improve your mobility, athletic performance, or overall wellness. Make chiropractic your first choice for better health, and find a chiropractic physician near you at nebraska-chiropractic.org. Get your life back with chiropractic.
Want to boost Nebraska's economy and help the planet? It's as easy as filling up your tank. Switch to soy-based biodiesel to cut greenhouse gases by up to 74% and support biodiesel growth.
I'm Greg Anderson, a farmer near Newman Grove, Nebraska, and biodiesel has transformed our farm. It cuts emissions, raises the cetane number, and improves fuel lubricity.
So ask for biodiesel where you fill up. It benefits our air, economy, and Nebraska soybean farmers. Nebraska soybeans, feeding, fueling, and innovating for the future.
There's something to be said for American made, but at Monolith, we're helping create Nebraska made. From here in Nebraska, we're producing low-emission carbon black for tires across North America. Soon we'll be providing farmers with locally made fertilizer to reduce our reliance on foreign imports. We're investing hundreds of millions in our multiple Nebraska facilities and employing Nebraskans in high-paying jobs that support families and communities. Monolith, Nebraska made.
When you're in the stands and have the ability to control your irrigation in the field, it's a game-changing moment. Valley is where farming meets end zone efficiency. With AgSense remote irrigation technology, farmers become the MVPs of their fields. Experience real-time, play-by-play action and control that keeps you ahead. Score big with irrigation technology from Valley. It's technology that improves your life and lets you be at the game and in the game. Find your local Valley dealer at valleyirrigation.com.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
Hey Huskers, it's a new day in Nebraska. Manzer Equipment, Mertz Farm Equipment, and West Point Implement of Columbus have teamed up as True Ag and Turf. Coach Rule is bringing innovation and high-performance standards to Husker football, and True Ag is doing the same to your farm with game-changing Fendt equipment. As Big Red establishes power on the field, True Ag and Turf does the same in the field by welcoming Fendt to Nebraska.
I got to see my brother get married.
I would have missed my dad's birthday.
Because I wore my seatbelt, I had the privilege of being part of his special day.
I got to go home and see my family again.
Does it click yet?
Brought to you by NDOT Highway Safety Office.
I would have never had the chance to see my daughter become a doctor.
I was able to go to my brother's graduation.
I wouldn't have adopted my first pet.
And then it clicked. My seatbelt saved my life. Does it click yet?
Brought to you by NDOT Highway Safety Office.
You expect your home to protect everything you love, but you don't expect the ways water is breaking down your basement and damaging your home. Mold, cracks, and of course visible water are just a few signs your basement is compromised. But there's one way to get answers to all your concerns. A free home inspection from Groundworks. We put water back in its place. Get your free inspection at groundworks.com. License number C142293.
For farmers, sustainability is a way of life. 97% of farms are family-owned, and 95% are participating in conservation programs and using sustainable practices.
I'm Ann Meese, a farmer near Elgin, Nebraska. I grew up on this land, and we're dedicated to being good stewards and leaving it better for the next generation.
Since 1980, U.S. soybean farmers have boosted production by 130%, all while lowering emissions and improving land and water use. Nebraska soybeans, feeding, fueling, and innovating for the future.
In the heartland, where ambition thrives, there are those who are made and those who are made for more. Just like the Huskers on game day, Kloss, a leading producer of ag equipment, unleashes the power of ambition in the field. Discover why our cutting-edge machinery and unwavering support aren't just a promise, they're a commitment to your success. Because at Kloss, we know you are made for more. Visit your Kloss dealer or CLAAS.com.
Nebraskans are choosing chiropractic for better health. Why chiropractic? Because it's safe, drug-free, and a cost-effective treatment option for back and joint pain. Plus, all generations can benefit from natural chiropractic care. Choose chiropractic first for pain relief or to improve your mobility, athletic performance, or overall wellness. Make chiropractic your first choice for better health, and find a chiropractic physician near you at nebraska-chiropractic.org. Get your life back with chiropractic.
Our Akrs Radio Network Broadcast Center, sponsored by Akrs. They are the Midwest premier John Deere dealer, supplying the equipment and service to advance agriculture and much more. Akrs, solutions for every field. Going down memory lane tonight with a former host of this show, Jeff Culhane, now anchored in Tallahassee, voice of the Florida State Seminoles. And you may have been a part of the most dramatic flip of a season from one to the next, from 12-0 to 2-10. How in the world did that happen?
Oh, man. It was something. It really was. To go from such a special fall, Greg, winning our first 13 games, winning the ACC title, obviously this year we would have been in, right? The playoff, a 12-team playoff. There would have been no debate. We would have been a top four, and we would have probably been – trying to think of the locations. We probably would have been at the Peach Bowl in Atlanta, just up the road, which is about a 4 to 5 hour drive, depending on traffic, from Tallahassee. 2023 was magical. For Husker fans, when you think of those, the years in the 90s, and there's so many connections, right, between Nebraska and Florida State during that run with Coach Osborne and Coach Bowden, and the title game in 93, and certainly bowl games prior to that. And, obviously 93 is a much better memory here than it is in Lincoln. And it's still debated, I know, by Husker fans to this day about how that game played out. But it's a national championship where I'm at now, and a part of the Seminole family. And so it's celebrated all the time in 93 and 99 and 2013, the 3 national championships in Florida State football history. And we thought we had a team that could do it. I remember, Greg, we went, Florida State went 10-3 in 2022. It was Mike Norvell's 3rd season. Before that year, there was a lot of talk about Coach being on the hot seat. But there was never, even as a new guy coming in, Sharpie, I knew that there was something special happening. Just looking at the roster and the players, and just getting to know Mike Norvell, like he was just getting to that point where he was building the belief in winning. And we finished the year great, and we had a great team coming into 23. I mean, with Jordan Travis returning, Keon Coleman, Trey Benson, Johnny Wilson on offense, and then defensively, Jared Verse. That name speaks for itself now in the NFL, right?
Wow. Yeah.
He killed my Vikings the other night, which was brutal. Braden Fisk, who also starts on the D-line with Verse. Those two guys are on the same defensive line here at Florida State. Just to name a few. And our linebackers, I think, don't get as much credit as they deserve, and Kalen DeLoach and Tatum Bethune. And 23 was amazing. And then, the snub happened, being left out for Bama and for Texas and Saban's last year. And we just haven't gotten back, and I think it really affected us. I think it really did. I think it sped up our clock in recruiting, not only in the portal, but our current roster. And I think there was, look, right, wrong, or indifferent. I think our players were very obviously disappointed, but, there was just this, animosity towards the process a little bit of getting snubbed. And so I don't know if we weren't ready quite yet to get in that recruiting mode, because we were thinking we were going to play, in the playoff. And then a bunch of guys left when we were going to the Orange Bowl. And man, it's really bizarre to say it, Greg, but my 18-year-old self would have been kicking me, because all of us were so disappointed to go to the Orange Bowl, one of the great games you play in, because we got left out. And you saw what happened against Georgia. All their guys played, and that result went down. And then I think it was just a perfect storm of just bad things happening all at once. We in the portal, we got a bunch of young guys instead of experienced guys from big schools that hadn't played a lot. I think some of our returning guys that came back, for whatever reason, just didn't develop and move forward the right way. And there were a lot of guys, unfortunately, that earned some money in NIL and didn't perform like they had. And we had a ton of injuries as well a year ago. And when we lost that first game in Dublin against Georgia Tech, which, Husker fans know Dublin, they know that it was a tough loss against Northwestern. But when we lost that first one on a walk-off field goal, I think it really stunned everybody. I think it stunned our returning players who had just gone essentially 13-0. And, for the first time, our players are the hunted and not the hunters. And I think that was a part of it as well. And so it was a snowball rolling downhill, and man, we just couldn't get it back. We couldn't get it back. And it was a really frustrating and disappointing fall. And so from that point on, we've obviously had some coaching changes. I apologize to Husker fans. We've taken some great ones from you guys, and Tony White and Terrence Knighton and Evan Cooper. And so there's a little bit of a Nebraska vibe. James Williams is down. Stephon Thompson on our defense now. So there's a little bit of Nebraska South we got going on down here, Greg, right now.
Absolutely, there is. You mentioned the playoff. Now that we're almost through it for the first time, what do you think?
I love it, but here's what I would do. Are you ready for this?
Lay it on me.
I have all these ideas now since I'm not doing a show. Then I don't have an outlet to vent these things. I would go to 16 teams, and I would seed it out. I would not give, conference champions the preferential seed. I would go 1 through 16, and I would have the first round at host sites, okay, the better seed. And then from there, you can do one of two things. You have 6 games remaining in the playoff after that first round. You can either rotate the 6 New Year's 6 bowl games as your sites moving forward. Let me try and count this. I don't have the sheet in front of me because I wrote this all out on my son's sketch pad the other day. Let me just back up. Let me back up here. So you go 1 through 16. You play the host sites at better seeds. And then in your next round, depending on what you want to do in the national championship, if you want the national title game to be a bowl site, okay, if you want that to happen, then you have the remaining, games at the other New Year's 6 bowl sites, and the best seed in the second round that's left, Greg, then gets to host a second game.
Oh.
Okay. But if you want to have a moneymaker, because in the college football world, we've played the national title games in NFL stadiums, and you still want to do that, then you would just take the 6 bowl games and rotate them the rest of the way. So I was wrong earlier. There's 7 games after the first round, right?
Right.
So if you want to have the national title game in a college football bowl site and rotate it, then you can have the best seed remaining in the second round host a second game. Or if you're wanting to bid it out to a city and into a stadium, then the 6 bowl games would be the rest of your games before the title game. Does that make sense?
Yeah, interesting. I've not heard that kind of a tweak on it. Now, you're very familiar with playoff football because of your days at NDSU. FCS has done this forever. They start at 24, do they not?
Yeah, it's built. I think it was 8, and then it was 12, and then it was 16, and then it went to 24. And probably, to be honest, that's too many.
Too many now.
Yeah, for the FCS. But they actually took a step forward this last year and making it better, and they went from 8 seeds to 16 to seed it out. And that made, I think, the bracket a little bit better, more balanced, more competitive, because before it was just the top 8 seeds. Those would get a bye. And then it was all geographical after that, which doesn't really – it's a bracket, but you're not seeding it out. I wish that they would just seed it out 1 through 24, but you're trying to save money as the NCAA and make it a little bit easier travel-wise and expense-wise on everyone. So, yes, they've been doing 24. I loved it. I thought it was awesome. The chance to play somebody new, the chance to bring in a new team into your home venue. It was only one time, Greg, during my 6 years there when we played a road game in the playoffs at NDSU, and that was during the COVID year, where we were playing in the spring, and we went down to Sam Houston, who's now an FBS program in Conference USA. So, yeah, I think the playoff is the best way to go. How much excitement is there? Has there been around these games? And this, obviously, this national championship game on Monday night with 2 just historic blue blood programs in Ohio State and Notre Dame. I know Nebraska fan. Could you imagine a night home playoff game on December 20th in Lincoln? Unbelievable. And the same goes for Florida State. Florida State fans having a game in Doak Campbell Stadium against, whomever, a Penn State or a northern school coming down south. It's what it's all about. And so I think finally in a sport where the simplest, easiest ideas are always the ones that we go to, I feel like we're starting to have more common sense to a certain degree when it comes to the playoff and how things look in college football in that regard.
Are you optimistic about the future of the sport? Because there's so much being thrown at people right now with NIL, transfer portal, the playoff. It tends to make you a little nervous with that much change in a short amount of time. Where are you at? Are you optimistic about the future?
I am hopeful. I really want to see somebody take the bull by the horns.
Do we need a commissioner?
Yeah, I think so. I think we need some kind of, whether it's directly linked to the college football playoff, because the NCAA now doesn't have any power, as you've talked about, I know.
Yeah.
The only power they have is really for infractions, and a lot of those now are just outdated, and they use them at times to flex their muscles to feel like they still have a job and a role and feel important, which is just so dumb. So I'm optimistic. We're getting there. It's sad because every state has their own rules, so there's competitive imbalance across the country with NIL, and so we need to really have – we are now in a professional model. Like it or not, that's the reality. And student athletes are being paid for play, and that's where we're at. And so I think this House settlement – I'm not an expert on it, Greg. Honestly, I have completely turned off to all that stuff. Just tell me when it's done.
Yep.
And I'll figure it out then. I don't have the time I'm not smart enough to try and keep up with it. So whenever you figure it out, whether there's a salary cap or there's everybody hits a certain number at the most. You don't have to get there if you don't want to, but I think there needs to be sort of like in pro sports. I think maybe a salary cap would be good right now for college athletics because we don't have billion-dollar owners. We're funding these things with our supporters and our boosters and our fans. And while that can be good in the immediate, my concern is how much longevity is there with that. That's my worry. And so, yes, I'm hopeful. I'm optimistic. I don't have a problem with players being paid to compete, but there's going to be, circumstances with that. There's not a lot of young men and women that are emotionally mature enough to have that kind of money in their bank account. Shoot, I don't know if I'm mature enough at 41 to have that amount of money they're getting paid in my bank account right now, Sharpie. So, yes, I'm excited. I'm hopeful. I just want, the powers that be to maybe put their swords down a little bit. And if the conferences can, come together and not compete against each other like Fortune 500 companies, then we'll see college football really take off like the NFL has. But until that point in time, you're going to have this bickering and fighting and the haves and the have-nots around college football and college athletics. And that's asking a lot, but that's sort of to me, that's one of the big challenges that we have.
Absolutely. Man, this has been fun. I think we'll leave it there. It's just college sports has always kind of had a little movement to it, but man, the last decade has just been crazy with all the conference realignment. I know FSU is kind of in the market for that now. That's the topic for another day, but great to catch up. Again, I just wanted to thank you for having my six for that Colorado game. And that was a great game for the Huskers. They really put it on old Dion, who's a Florida State guy, right?
Well, I'll tell you what, Dion has rubbed a few the wrong way wearing the garnet and gold over the last 3, 4, 5 years. So I can tell you on that Saturday, September night, Sharpie, that we were spending some time together, there were a lot of Florida State fans that are enjoying what Nebraska did to Colorado that night and beating those guys down. So we thank you as Seminoles for what you guys did to Colorado that night. Thank you.
That's great. Good to see you. I know you got basketball. What do you got this weekend? You got a game tomorrow?
Yeah, we got some hoops, man. We're right in the middle of ACC play. We've got Georgia Tech coming to town at noon Eastern. It's an early tip, which is great. I love those. I can get home and hang out with the family and watch hoops the rest of the day. So winnable game and a great opportunity. We had a big win. We got a quad one win Wednesday night at home versus Pitt. I watched the Nebraska game last night. Tough one against Rutgers, but look, man, Ace Bailey, Dylan Harper, those guys, wow. I mean, amazing. So,
Ace Bailey, I think Ace Bailey's a top 5 pick.
He's a stud. Yeah, dude, yeah. He's a stud. So, yeah, got some hoops. And then, hey, Greg, conference realignment you're just talking about, I get a week-long trip out in the Bay Area in California for a conference game next week. How about that?
How wacky is that?
Yeah,
unbelievable.
The All-Coast Conference we are now, the ACC.
Coast to coast. Big Ten's kind of the same way, is the same way. The SEC is not. Jeff, great to catch up. Good to hear your voice. I know Husker fans reminisce. They remember those days of Sports Nightly with you and calling baseball with Lane and myself. We had a lot of fun doing those games. That was a blast.
Yeah, we did. Nebraska will always hold a special place in my heart. And thank you for having me on, my friend. I appreciate that. It's always a lot of fun, and I can't wait to do it again soon.
Sounds good. Jeff Culhane, the voice of the Florida State Seminoles. We're back with more Sports Nightly next.
They say consistency is the key to success. They weren't wrong. So how about grabbing a beer that's consistently smooth, consistently refreshing, and consistently light? You might just find that the road to success can be pretty enjoyable. Michelob Ultra, the perfect balance of taste and refreshment, and only 2.6 carbs and 95 calories. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. Anheuser-Busch Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
What does it mean to be locally owned and operated? For Cenex, it means everything. It means that we know if you take your coffee to go or if you like to stay a while. It means we've helped Little Leagues get jerseys and local festivals get funding. It means we know what our communities need. So you'll always leave Cenex with a full tank, full of snacks, or full of smiles. Or all of the above. And that means the world to us. Cenex, powered locally.
For 48 straight years, Ford F-Series have been the best-selling trucks in America. We got here by engineering breakthrough technology, redefining Built Ford Tough, and never settling for second best. But what's really made Ford F-Series the #1 selling trucks in America is you. Ford F-Series, Built Ford Tough. Based on 1977 to 2024 calendar year total sales.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
Hello, Husker Nation. This is Lex Rodriguez, All-American Libero, serving you an ace on behalf of Noddle Companies based in Omaha, Nebraska. Noddle Companies is a full-service leader in commercial real estate, digging deep to create thriving communities like the Builders District, Exarban Village, and the contemporary row house townhomes. They bring world-class concepts in fashion, great eats, gorgeous homes, and green spaces, all professionally managed by Noddle Services. To dig up more information, find them on Facebook and Instagram. Noddle Companies, building a better Nebraska.
Nebraska soybeans power everyday products, from Goodyear tires and Skechers shoes to soy-based turf and fire suppressants. These innovations replace petroleum and utilize other components of the soybean, leading to more sustainable products worldwide.
I'm Doug Sadoff, a farmer near Trumbull, Nebraska. Thanks to cutting-edge research, soybeans are now in everything from tires to turf. It's amazing to see how these advancements are unlocking new potential for our crops.
Soybeans are a win for every product and everyone. Nebraska soybeans, feeding, fueling, and innovating for the future.
On game day, every play counts. Now imagine having the same level of control in your field. Valley is where farming meets end zone efficiency. With AgSense remote irrigation technology, farmers become the MVPs of their fields. Real-time, play-by-play control means you're always ahead of the game. Score big with simplified irrigation technology from Valley, improving your life both on and off the field. Find your local Valley dealer at valleyirrigation.com.
You expect your home to protect everything you love, but you don't expect that water is the reason parts of your concrete have gotten so uneven. Walkway tripping hazards, sinking pool deck, cracked driveways are dangerous threats to everyone's safety. But there's one way to learn how your concrete can be lifted. A free home inspection from Groundworks. We put water back in its place. Get your free inspection at groundworks.com. License number C142293.
What does it mean to be locally owned and operated? For Cenex, it means everything. It means that we know if you take your coffee to go or if you like to stay a while. It means we've helped Little Leagues get jerseys and local festivals get funding. It means we know what our communities need. So you'll always leave Cenex with a full tank, full of snacks, or full of smiles, or all of the above. And that means the world to us. Cenex, powered locally.
They say consistency is the key to success. They weren't wrong. So how about grabbing a beer that's consistently smooth, consistently refreshing, and consistently light? You might just find that the road to success can be pretty enjoyable. Michelob Ultra, the perfect balance of taste and refreshment, and only 2.6 carbs and 95 calories. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. Anheuser-Busch Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Folks, Chick-fil-A South Point Pavilions and Chick-fil-A 48-0. Proud to once again present Salute to Service at Nebraska basketball home games for the 2024-25 season. A recipient will get selected for each home game. They're going to get 2 game tickets, parking pass, VIP pregame meal, Chick-fil-A honor coin, and honored on the court during the game. Thank you for assistance in honoring our veterans. You can go nominate a veteran at huskers.com/salute to service. Next home games coming up this weekend. The Husker women will play at home on Monday. Husker men not home until next week. Husker men head to Maryland now after that tough loss last night to the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. We had to get pretty close to starting action out at the Devaney Center. Nebraska ready to tango with number 1 Penn State on the mat. Should be a heck of a duel out there tonight. If you are looking for something to watch on TV in a little bit, that's on BTN tonight. I'm back to wrap up this show. Coming up next.
They say consistency is the key to success. They weren't wrong. So how about grabbing a beer that's consistently smooth, consistently refreshing, and consistently light? You might just find that the road to success can be pretty enjoyable. Michelob Ultra, the perfect balance of taste and refreshment, and only 2.6 carbs and 95 calories. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. Anheuser-Busch Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Husker fans, this season Nebraska is celebrating 50 years of Husker women's basketball, and we need you to help celebrate. You have shown up for women's hoops from the start and continue to prove that Nebraska fans really are the best in the nation. On Sunday, January 26th, the Huskers face Big Ten opponent Ohio State, and we are calling on all Husker fans to help pack PBA so we can celebrate 50 years of Huskers women's hoops together. Get your tickets now and be a part of this historic season. For event and ticket information, go to huskers.com/tickets.
You expect your home to protect everything you love, but you don't expect the ways water is breaking down your crawl space and damaging your home. Musty smells, sagging floors, mold are just a few signs your crawl space is compromised. But there's one way to get answers to all your concerns: a free home inspection from Groundworks. We put water back in its place. Get your free inspection at groundworks.com. License number C142293.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
You may have heard about Monolith, how right here in Nebraska, we're producing low-emission carbon black for tires across North America. How we'll soon be providing farmers with locally made fertilizer to reduce our reliance on foreign imports. How we're investing hundreds of millions in multiple Nebraska facilities. You might have heard Monolith is changing the world. We're not. You are. Along with many other Nebraskans in high-paying jobs that support families and communities. Monolith, Nebraska made.
Experience elegance at every mile at Woodhouse Lincoln. Whether it's adventure, elegance, or everyday comfort, there's a vehicle in the Lincoln lineup that's designed for your lifestyle. Purchase the 2024 Lincoln Navigator L Reserve for $99,000 plus 0% APR for 60 months. Shop in store at 144th and Giles Road or online at woodhouselincoln.com. With approved credit, price includes $3,000 trade-in assistance and $2,000 luxury conquest bonus. Exchange by Lincoln vehicle. VIN number 5LMJJ3LG 1REL0646. Offer expires January 31st, 2025. See dealer for details.
We're back. Just a couple of minutes left in tonight's show, and I'm soloing the end of this one, so I've got the winner and a loser for you coming up here right now. My winner, how about that Husker women's basketball team? What a terrific game last night in Iowa City. Had a lead in the first half, lost the lead. You kind of thought, well, this is going to get away from them. No, sirree. They were able to get it done in overtime, dominating things. Britt Prince, a terrific game. Alexis Markowski, a very solid effort as well, as Amy Williams' team picks up a really nice road win. You've got to be able to show the ability to the committees in March that you can win away from home. So that's a big one for Nebraska's women's team. I think there's some more road wins coming up for them as well. And we'll keep our fingers crossed that the Husker men can get a road win on Sunday when they go to Maryland to take on the Terps for that one. My loser for the week, Mick Cronin, the UCLA men's basketball coach, just continues to belittle his team, his staff, officials, the Big Ten for their scheduling, just really coming across as an agitated guy. For Mick Cronin, I think the job might be getting to him. He's probably on the hot seat out there in Westwood. But, boy, just after every game, and they're really struggling. They've really struggled since they left Lincoln a couple of weeks ago. They've not won since the Huskers beat them in that Friday night game. So Mick Cronin, my loser of the week, just cannot get out of his way and alienating a lot of people. So strange stuff going on with Mick Cronin. Well, that'll do it for tonight's show. Thanks to everybody for listening tonight. Thanks to Jeff Culhane for spending some of his Friday night with us. Always great to hear from an alum of the Huskers Radio Network. Good to have him here on tonight. Thanks to Russ Brown for steering the ship for us. You all have a great weekend. We'll be back with you, a short show on Monday. Good night.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
Attention, Husker Nation. Are you ready to power up your game? Sap Brothers high-quality off-road red diesel is the fuel that powers your equipment. As official sponsors of the Huskers, we're here with a winning offer with the Sap Brothers Go Big Red Fuel Giveaway. Contract your upcoming fuel needs by February 1st and enter to win 1,000 free gallons of our off-road red diesel to keep your engine roaring and equipment running strong. Sap Brothers fuels Husker Nation. Visit sapbros.net/fuel giveaway for more info.
Husker fans, it's game day, and Pizza Hut's got your perfect play. Score the game day special for just $29.99. Get 2 medium 3-topping pizzas, 8 boneless wings, and 5 breadsticks. Enough to feed 8 hungry fans. Pizza, wings, breadsticks, and more. It's the ultimate lineup to fuel your game day. Check out the full menu online at pizzahut.com or in store. Because remember, no one out-pizzas the Hut.
Set. Hike. When champions take the field, they come ready to play. TNL Irrigation understands the value of momentum. Like a Husker drive, there's no stopping. If you live for farming and football like we do, TNL Irrigation has you covered. Check your fields from the game with a remote system, or just enjoy the play knowing our systems are reliable as a sold-out Memorial Stadium. Touchdown! Nebraska born, Nebraska strong. Husker Nation and TNL Irrigation are like no other.
For 48 straight years, Ford F-Series have been the best-selling trucks in America. We got here by engineering breakthrough technology, redefining built Ford tough, and never settling for second best. But what's really made Ford F-Series the #1 selling trucks in America is you.